I'd like to conclude now with Aristotle's ethics and speak about his concept of philosophical reason, philosophical wisdom. But first, to recap, as I said, Aristotle envisioned three parts of the human soul: the vegetable or completely non-rational part, the animal part, which is irrational in origin but which needs to be controlled and dominated by the human part, and the human part, which is effectively human reason. From another perspective, though, Aristotle sees reason as truly divine. It is the divine fragment within the human being, and although it may seem to be only one small part of human nature, according to Aristotle, it is the defining part. So if we want to be human, we need to exercise reason, which is the part that makes us divine. And there are two parts to this reason: the practical reason and the philosophical reason. As I said, the practical reason governs everyday practical affairs. And when we look at our daily life and our interactions with other people, we need to discover how to live appropriately. Now, together with Socrates and Plato, Aristotle agreed that the goal of life is not simply to seek pleasure. If we seek just to indulge in gratuitous pleasure, we may end up being very unhappy or sick or even killing ourselves through the pursuit of pleasure. But if we live in a way which is moderate and courageous and just, if we live a virtuous life, then we will find happiness through that virtue. Now, to attain virtue, we need to apply practical wisdom to our practical reasoning. So the question then for Aristotle was, how do you attain practical wisdom? And his answer was, this is something which needs to be learned. You need to be taught, in other words. So when you look around at life and you ask yourself, what is it that a wise person would do, you need to find a wise person to instruct you on what is justice, what is fairness, what is courage, so forth. And so when you do that, when you learn this, that's the start. But it's not enough to know what is right. You also have to practice it. It has to become ingrained in you. It has to be something that you do automatically. And again, this is where he disagreed with Socrates and Plato, who felt that if you simply contemplate the form of the good or the form of the just and can realize what that means, then automatically you'll do it. Like, understanding what is right will automatically lead you to do what is right. Aristotle said, no, this understanding is very important, so virtue implies reason, but you also have to practice it. So for him, virtues, these sort of excellent behaviors that we carry out, are things which are learned first and then practiced. They become habitual. They're habits that we learn and we practice repeatedly. And so for most people can become quite happy through living this life of practical wisdom, practical virtue. Now, when we talk about Aristotle's theory of happiness, he said that the ultimate goal of human beings should be something which is self-sufficient, final, and attainable. And so for most people, this would mean this sort of practical wisdom brings us into a situation where we live virtuously in daily life, and that makes us happy. So it fulfills these conditions. But Aristotle points out that it doesn't fulfill them completely, because it's not 100% self-sufficient. Even after we have basic clothing and food and so forth, in order to live virtuously in a practical sense, we need to engage in behaviors and interactions with other people. So you need other people in order to practice courage and temperance and justice, so forth. So he points out that to find the ultimate happiness, which is something which is truly self-sufficient, we need to pursue philosophical, contemplation and philosophical reasoning, and ultimately to develop philosophical wisdom. And what is it that we are pursuing here? It is through trying to understand the fundamental principles, the scientific and metaphysical principles which govern the universe. This kind of research, if you will, this kind of thinking, is what allows us to discover things and find out things and gain the reward of solving these mysteries, understanding the hidden secrets of the universe through attaining philosophical wisdom. According to Aristotle, then, this is the ultimate kind of happiness, because when you can engage in this philosophical kind of contemplation, then you don't really need to rely on other people to do that. It's something that you can do by yourself. So in that sense, it's self-sufficient, it's also final, and it's also attainable. And it's truly the most divine quality of human beings, because you are using reason, which is the divine part of the human soul, but you're using it in a very theoretical and purely reasonable, reason-centered way. You're not talking about practical matters. You're talking about philosophical, theoretical, abstract reasoning, which is, from Aristotle's point of view, the most divine sort of endeavor you could undertake. And so when you find the answers, when you discover the answers to your questions regarding the nature of reality, this satisfaction is the ultimate happiness, and this is divine wisdom. So philosophical wisdom is a kind of divine wisdom, which is available only to those who pursue it, with their whole heart and mind and soul. Now, what's interesting is that Aristotle criticized Plato for claiming that we could understand the nature of reality through abstract contemplation of ultimate forms. And yet, Aristotle, in a sense, comes back to this idea that we need to contemplate, ultimate principles. Now, to what degree he was talking about sort of working up from lower principles, and to what degree he's talking about just contemplating, theoretical truths and abstract principles by themselves, it's not clear what he means by this kind of contemplation, other than that it's something that only the truly committed, the ones who are truly committed to this sort of endeavor can accomplish. And it's probably something which is not available to most people, because most people are not simply gifted with that kind of intellect. But it's kind of interesting how Aristotle comes back strangely close to Plato in his view that the ultimate happiness and the ultimate goodness and the ultimate source of wisdom comes through this abstract contemplation. And for Aristotle, that is the ultimate goal of human life. That's philosophical contemplation and philosophical wisdom, which brings ultimate human happiness. All right, that's about it for Aristotle.